The James Show Podcast.
The next James Show listener meet and greet, I'll be there too. Is it going to be at Manny G's in Keller? That's going to happen on Tuesday, May 27th. This coming Tuesday after Memorial Day. Just bring your Memorial Day hangover and come on out, say hi, get a selfie, shake my hand. Judge me based on my appearance. I'll be out there from 7 to 9. Manny G's in Keller. If you have other friends that listen to the James Show, be sure to pass it along to them as well. And it's absolutely free. I know that's your favorite part. My next guest, I'm kind of sad to bring him on. Usually I like talking to him, but it is not for a good cause. Benji Gershon's on from American Jewish Conservatives. And we have another terror attack aimed at your community that happened in D.C. Benji, I know you didn't know these people, and not all Jewish people know each other, but in the context of all that has been going on with your community, here's another tough hit for you guys. Welcome to the show, by the way. But yeah, tough story.
Yeah, very, very tough story, and thank you for having me on, although I wish it was under better circumstances. First and foremost, our thoughts and prayers are with the families of Yaron and Sarah, who were just senselessly murdered in this awful terror attack. And there's so much I can say. It's gone on too long, this evil that's infiltrated this country, and this anti-Semitism, the oldest hatred in the world. And, the pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas crowd, these are terrorist supporters who hate America as much as they hate Jews. Every single one of them should be deported or arrested, every single one. These protests, which really should be called terrorist marches, should be outlawed.
Yep.
Anyone holding a terror flag of any kind should be held accountable. The keffiyeh is the new swastika, as far as I'm concerned. And it's gone far past, we care about the Palestinian suffering and the Palestinian people. Listen, they can blame Hamas for the fact that there is no Palestine and there never will be a Palestine. They can blame Hamas for the fact that unfortunately, as a result of war, Hamas hides behind. They put innocent civilians and children in places where the Israeli army is trying to do their job. The rhetoric has gotten out of control, and we've seen now this is completely spilt over now to where a person is violently acted out against innocent Jews as a result of the ideology that's been a cancer in this country for the last God knows how long.
All right. Now, I think most people probably heard it in the news updates at the top of the hour, but if you're new to this story, 2 Israeli embassy staffers were at a Jewish museum in D.C. They stepped outside and some guy came up to them and shot them both. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're wondering, well, how do we know it's a terror attack? Well, because we heard the guy when he was being taken into custody, he didn't really run or take off, but he's doing the popular phrase.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
So the thing that bothers me about that, Benji, is Free Palestine is the same song that these goobers were singing when they're marching in Dallas, when they're blocking this bridge over here by the studio, when they're in front of City Hall picketing, or when they're trying to block the entrance to Dallas Love Field. I like your assertion that we need to start associating this kind of stuff like the swastika.
Yeah. You saw the true face of the Free Palestine movement last night. Anyone that is still shocked by this horrific double murder has been willfully blind. And this is not just about the Jewish people. We're in a battle for the soul of the Western civilization, as far as I'm concerned, and a battle between those who cherish life and liberty and those who glorify hatred and death. And it's far past the time that our leaders in law enforcement wake up and act decisively. Because if they don't, this is not going to be the last time that we see this happening to innocent Jews or any innocent civilians, for that matter, on our streets. These are extremists that are masquerading as peace activists, and they're far from it.
And I think that's an important angle. This is a civilizational struggle. And, if you're wondering why some farm boy Baptist from the middle of nowhere, Texas, cares so much about what happens to my Jewish neighbors, this is an attack on all of us. They're just picking on Israel because they're the closest and smallest and probably the least defended among us, but it's not going to stop there. They want to end Western civilization. They want us all to submit. It's just going to start with Israel, and it stinks to see one side committing the terror. One side is hurting people. One side is sawing people's heads off in the sand and putting it online. One side is flying planes into buildings. One side is blowing up their own children with suicide vests. And the other side's not. And I don't understand how there's still any discussion or debate on which side is the good side.
Yeah, there should be no discussion or debates. And unfortunately, you have a lot of the mainstream media and a lot of the radicals on the left that are still thinking that there's somehow, an equilibrium there. But, again, I'll just mention this as well. Protesters that are chanting not only Free Palestine, but globalized Antifada in our capital cities and on college campuses. They're not being vague. This is they're being brutally honest.
You're right. It's a terrorist chant now. Free Palestine is now the chant of terrorists. Thank you so much, Benji Gershon. All right, I know you're going to think this is kind of interesting. The city of Prosper has approved a new drone program, and this isn't like a scary thing where drone swarms are going to come and wake you up in the middle of the night and start shooting into your house or anything. It's not. We're not to Terminator 2 yet. This is kind of the next step towards Terminator 2, which I, for one, would like to be on the record as welcoming our new robot overlords. Because that's going to happen. We got the AI, we've got the robots, we got the Boston Tech dogs that are scaring the hell out of me. They can do flips, they can dance now. Now we got drones, we got Uber Eats delivering with the little R2-D2 cart out here in the downtown Dallas area. So the robot revolution is going to happen in a long enough time scale. I would just like to be on the record on the side of the robots so they don't kill me. That's all that's about. But in the meantime, hey, we're going to have a beautiful harmony of robots and humans coexisting together. And jokes aside, I actually pretty optimistic about this plan. Now, it starts off simple enough. We'll talk about the slippery slope argument later. But as it's written, as I read over here in the Dallas Morning News, looks like Prosper is going to test sending out drones on some first responder calls. So if there's been a car wreck and, it's always been a race to see who could get there first. Because when you were a kid, they would send an ambulance. Now they send either an ambulance or a fire truck because the fire truck has all kinds of medical equipment and firemen have some medical training, and whoever gets there with the automatic defibrillator first sometimes can save a life. So it's really just turned into a race. Which first responder can get there fastest? Well, now we have drones who don't have to stop at stoplights or wait for some goobers to get out of the way or be hindered by traffic at all. Or they could just go up and make a straight line to wherever the issue is and go ahead and at least put some eyes on it. Now, it's not going to be equipped with, first aid skills, but it can at least put some eyeballs on the situation. And I think it'll be a net positive. Number one, because drones are so cheap as it is. This is a new technology, and it'd be expensive for you to buy a whole fleet of drones, but compared to an ambulance or compared to a paramedic's salary, a drone is pretty darn efficient. Now, it's going to be used, this is going to be used for more than just first responder calls like car wrecks or burglaries or home invasions or whatnot. I imagine this will be a beautiful alternative for the manhunts and car chases where you see in the big cities, like they do this once a week almost in Los Angeles. There's some helicopter shot of a guy on a car chase. And even for medium-sized and small towns that can't afford a helicopter, they can afford a drone. So if there's a car chase situation and you can get a drone on the guy, then the cops on the ground don't have to chase him. That's safer for everybody. I hate the stories where there's a car chase and some guy running from the cops ends up crashing into an Astro van and killing a family of four, or, hitting a pedestrian or something to that effect. So this could have just an immediate positive effect on public safety. It could help with the cost to the taxpayers. And really, I just like the attempt to embrace new tech. Even if it fails miserably, at least we're trying. But let me talk, overall, I do agree with it, but here's some concerns that I do have. What I don't like about government drone use is that it will not stop with first responders. This is just their entree into seeing how much the society at large will tolerate having drones flying over our heads. And, if you want to take the slippery slope all the way down, where does this end? Well, eventually it'll be in Terminator 2, but by the end of our lives, I don't think you'd be too surprised to see a grid of drones flying overhead at special events like the State Fair of Texas. Would it just have a patchwork, a grid of drones up there at all times? Maybe that'll be what we exchange. Hey, let us have our concealed carry at the State Fair. You can float some drones up there so if someone does get a little shooty, then they have almost a 0% chance of getting away with it. Because the drone will be able to follow them immediately, ID them immediately, give them real-time info, and then after the fact, evidence for the trial. So that's cool, but will the drones eventually be armed? Of course, they're going to say no now, but once we get used to drones and that's not creepy anymore, just adding a little bit to their power every step of the way could eventually mean to arm drones, and that makes the government super duper powerful. But whether or not you like government having drones, get ready, because drones are coming. Drones are coming anyway. And I foresee a future where you're going to have your own personal drone. It'll just follow you around. It'll fly 10 feet above your head and be looking down at you like your own little security detail. And it'll be cool because it will be a good deterrence of crime. If you're going to mug somebody, would you mug the person who has the drone watching them and recording them at all times, or would you wait for the next guy that doesn't have the drone? Of course. But it would be helpful for, other work purposes, like where did I go today? What was at that building? What was on the front steps? Or, just business supervision. Is the crew that's supposed to be roofing my house, are they actually working all day? Or are they taking breaks for long periods of time? It could also work for entertainment purposes. Like if you have a reality show or, I don't know, some influencers just going to stream her day. Hey, I'm just a beautiful girl walking around downtown. Why don't you watch me? So it'll be here, and it'll be here in just a matter of, 2-3 years, probably, maybe 5 at the most. Personal drones just following you around. Of course, here's another concern. This will make helicopter parenting a real thing. It'll be drone parenting. But there's going to be some just psycho mom out there who wants a drone following her kid all day at school or when they're walking to the bus stop or going to soccer practice. But you'll see it, and it won't. Again, it won't happen immediately, but here in a few years, it'll be like when cell phones started being integrated into society. One day, no one had cell phones. The next day, you saw a guy in the mall with a giant Acme brick phone, like from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and you thought, oh, well, he's just doing that for a status symbol. He just wants people to know that how rich he is, that he can afford to have this cell phone. There's no one that needs to have a cell phone call in the middle of the mall on a Tuesday afternoon. We'll say that about drones. Oh, he's just showing off. There's no one that needs to have a drone following him around at all times. But I feel like in a couple decades, we'll all have drones. There'll be a ton of people, maybe even most people will have drones. Then you'll see a weird evolution too, like luxury drones or Gucci drones or whatever. But get ready. The drone future is coming, and it looks like it's going to start and prosper. Well, we have a new ruling on the status of 350 Venezuelan immigrants in America. And my next guest is going to help us make sense of what this new Supreme Court decision means. Kate Lincoln Goldfinch is back on the James Show. Good to see you again, Kate. How's it going?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
Okay, so what exactly did the Supreme Court rule on Monday when it comes to these 350,000 Venezuelans?
So it's a temporary ruling, what they would call a stay or an injunction. And so the decision of the Supreme Court is that the cancellation of temporary protected status for Venezuelans by the Trump administration is allowed to move forward while the lawsuit regarding the legality of the decision proceeds through the courts. So it's a pretty big blow to Venezuelans and TPS, because what it means is that they can lose their status and be detained or deported while the lawsuit is pending, which could be months or years.
All right. So when we say temporary protected status, how is that different than other Venezuelans who came here with, a green card or something?
So TPS, temporary protected status, is a program by which we as a nation provide a protected stay in the United States for people from any country that has had some type of collapse, like maybe they have a hurricane or maybe they have a political coup or some other type of infrastructure collapse. And then our government will say everybody who's here from Venezuela, who was here before March of 2023, for example, is protected against deportation, and then they get work permits and Social Security cards. So it is meant to be a temporary program to protect people who really can't go back to their countries at this time.
Man, 350,000 is a lot. I didn't realize we had that many. And these are just the temporary protected status ones?
That's right. That's the number of Venezuelans who are under TPS. And, many of them are theoretically eligible for something else. Maybe they have asylum, maybe they have an employment case or a family-based case. But a lot of them only have TPS, and probably the Trump administration, based on the Supreme Court ruling, is going to be pretty immediately revoking status and going after those folks.
But this issue isn't done. This just gets out of the way until the final decision can be made. That's a question mark.
That's right. And the question overall in the court is whether the revocation of protection for Venezuelans was discriminatory. Because obviously this is a temporary program. DHS / the president generally has the authority to not renew TPS. But what typically happens when there's a non-renewal is there's a really long ramp. We know, a long time in advance that it's not going to be renewed, that things have settled down in the country. Like when there was an Ebola outbreak in Liberia, that and everything got resolved. That TPS went away. The question here is whether it's, discriminatory on the Trump administration to revoke TPS as quickly as they did, and whether things are actually better in Venezuela. And many people would argue that they're not. It's just that Trump doesn't want to have TPS for Venezuelans. So that's the question that the court is grappling with overall.
The way you explain it, I think the court could end up going either way on this one.
I agree. I mean, I think it's always an indication when you get a ruling in an injunction of how the court might rule in the overall question. So, and probably, there is a lot of power within the executive branch about whether TPS gets granted or extended or terminated. I wouldn't be surprised if the cancellation of TPS ultimately were allowed by the courts. But hopefully, as with a lot of these things, the Trump administration starts to realize that the more deliberative and thoughtful and slow they can be about their actions, the less hot water they're going to get into in the courts, which are just sort of batting down a lot of these policies like whack-a-mole right now. And it's just really chaotic and inefficient.
We're talking with Kate Lincoln Goldfinch, an immigration attorney. Is this another one of these issues that once we have a ruling on Venezuela, it could cascade to immigrants of other countries who are in a similar situation?
The Trump administration is going to see how this goes, and they'd love to be able to revoke TPS protections for people from other countries like Honduras or El Salvador. So, I think they'll be watching how this goes. What
is the argument for Venezuela being too dangerous for 350,000 Venezuelans?
Well, political collapse. So there's an economic collapse, but the underlying root of that is a political collapse. And there's a lot of political persecution against people who have spoken out against the regime in Venezuela. So lots of people who have fled are college professors or students or other professionals who have expressed political opinion, and they get arrested, detained, abused, disappeared even. It's a pretty harsh and brutal regime at this point. And that's what a lot of people are fleeing.
All right. Kate Lincoln Goldfinch from Lincoln Goldfinch Law. Appreciate your expertise on the James Show. Although I do think it's a little more spicy when we disagree on issues. This has been fun. The guy who created Dilbert, the comic strip about office politics and the fun we all have at work, he announced on Monday he has terminal cancer. And the reason he was doing it is we heard about Biden's terminal cancer situation over the weekend. And Dilbert, Scott Adams, I got to try not to call him Dilbert. He was just saying it not because he wanted the world to know he had cancer. It's that he had the exact same cancer diagnosis as Biden. And so he was able to add some insight into it. Now, he's been an outspoken conservative influencer on social media. The Dilbert thing was his springboard, and what most people know him for online, at least now. He's a pretty full-throated MAGA guy and has been culturally super popular with Team Red because he is just a naturally funny guy. But here he is on Monday announcing his cancer situation. Just terrible news.
Some of you have already guessed, so this won't surprise you at all. But I have the same cancer that Joe Biden has. So I also have prostate cancer that has also spread to my bones. But I've had it longer than he's had it. Well, longer than he's admitted having it. So my life expectancy is maybe the summer. I expect to be checking out from this domain sometime this summer. Now, I realize that for some of you, this is hitting you kind of hard because you're hearing it for the first time. Weirdly, since it's old news to me, I've just sort of processed it. So it just sort of is what it is. And I have to say that, everybody has to die, as far as I know. And it's kind of civilized that you know about how long you have so you can put your affairs together and make sure you've said your goodbyes and done all the things you need to do. So if you had to pick a way to die, this one's really painful, like really, really painful. But it's also kind of good that it gives you enough time while your brain is still working to wrap things up. And I can see in the comments that some of you are having a tough time with it. But remember, nothing lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever.
All right. So that's a lot to take in. Did you hear how cool and calm he was? Yeah, I'll be checking out sometime this summer. And I guess, this isn't new news to him. He's already digested it. I just figure I'd be a basket case. I hope I'm half as cool as he is about it. But I didn't play that for you on Monday because I didn't want to bring you down. I saw that, man. It almost brought me to tears. I've been a big fan of this guy. But he told another story yesterday, and I have to play this for you. He got a call from Trump after his cancer diagnosis, or cancer announcement, I should say, on Monday. And check this. This is about 3 minutes, so this is way longer than I would normally play for you. But tell me if this story isn't worth your time. Again, this is Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, after he announced he has terminal cancer and just a couple months to live.
And a little bit later, I thought, better check that voicemail and see if that was anything I need to deal with. And the first sentence in the transcription, because, the phone gives you the text version of the voicemail as well. The first sentence is, "This is your favorite president." And I thought to myself, no. Did I just send the most important person in the world to voicemail? And it turns out that I had. It was Trump. And he was just calling to check in. Now, he left a, semi-lengthy little voicemail, just saying he was checking on me, heard about my health situation. And then he says, you can call me back on this number. Now, obviously, I don't call him back, right? Because that would just be ridiculous. It just was a nice thing for him to say because he called me. You could call me back on this number. So I didn't call him back on that number because I thought it's not like you sitting at the Resolute desk waiting for my call. I thought that whatever it is he's doing has got to be more important, than randomly taking a call from me. So I don't call him back. Hours go by. It's the afternoon, same day. It's the afternoon. And all of a sudden another call comes through, also from Florida. And I thought to myself, there's no way he's calling me again. And I answer it, and it's Trump. And apparently he'd heard of my situation, and he had lots of questions. I won't get into the details of our conversation because that would be inappropriate. But he was just checking on me. And he had, he wanted to make sure that I was getting everything I needed. And that was it, But at the end, the strangest thing happened at the end. At the end of the call, when he found out, the situation was kind of dire, and I was still checking out some things that might help. He said, "If you need anything, I'll make it happen." And he meant it. He was completely aware of our, let's say, parallel journeys from 2015. He mentioned it. And it was just the most incredible, weird, hard to understand situation. But boy, was it fun.
That's Scott Adams, creator of Dilbert. And Trump calling this guy when he only has a couple months to live. Just nice reminder how much he's not Hitler. That's not what a sociopath would do. A sociopath only interacts with you if they can get something out of it. They can get some sort of pleasure or entertainment or professional help or money or good press or positive PR. But once you're dying of cancer and you're done with this mortal coil and you're about to check out, to get a call from someone who can't really do anything for you, just to check on you, That's not what an evil person would do. That's not what literally Hitler would do. That's not what a sociopath would do. He genuinely cared for this guy, saw him as a fellow human being, and just wanted to reach out. And knowing a phone call can't really do anything, he just wanted to let him know he cared. There's a new bill, just got through, and it looks like just passed the Senate, probably going to become law, although it's not officially law yet. That would require Texas schools to use the terms BC and AD. It's like, well, don't they already use it? No, that's opposed to BCE or CE. I don't know if you've seen this, but you know it's a good bill. Go to here's what I like to do sometimes is go to someone I know that will hate this and go see what they say about it. So I went to the Houston Chronicle. They're even worse than the Dallas Morning News as far as being biased. And their religion reporter wrote this headline: BCAD or BCECE. Republicans in Texas Senate vote to advance Christian agenda. Oh, no, not the Christian agenda. Oh, really? Is that the Christian agenda? That's interesting. Who else? Oh, yeah, Texas Tribune wrote an article about it, too. Also, I enjoy their bias at times like this. Texas Senate passes bill that would require public schools to use Christian BCAD system to track years. Oh, okay. So this is a Christian system. This is the Christian agenda. This is a pro-Christian move. That's interesting. Now, why are they doing this? Why would they need to pass this law? Well, let's go back in time 3 years. I remember this story. You may have too. When the Texas Board of Education was considering ditching the BCAD system. Now, when they reported on it then, was it they were ditching the Christian BCAD system, or was it an anti-Christian agenda that was being put forward? Because the Houston Chronicle says this is a Christian agenda, BCAD, but to remove that, was that seen as anti-Christian? Now, let's look at the reporting then. State Board of Education considers ditching BCAD calendar dating system. Oh, it's not called anti-Christian. In this article, does it say it's anti-Christian anywhere? No, it doesn't. No. So why would they want to change BC and AD to BCE and CE? Okay, so BC, before Christ, AD, Anno Domini, the year of our Lord in Latin. That is pretty much the time that we all accepted is there's the time before Christ and the time after Christ, and that's what these dates mean. The reason why it's 2025 is it's 2025 years after what we used to think was the birth of Christ, although historians may say that he was really probably born about 4 AD. It's like, okay, well, at least you admit he existed. But the BCCE, you and I recognize that for exactly what it is. It's an attempt to erase Christianity from the scientific ledger because they can't stand it. They have to secularize everything. Their religion, their belief system is their politics and their ideology. And Christianity is a competition for it. But I love how they say, we need to get rid of this because it would be more religiously inclusive. What religion uses BCE and CE? No religion uses that. So it's actually the expulsion of all religion from the dating system. At least BC and AD includes one religion. So the reporting around this is dishonest. But BCE and CE have come to mean something different. When you watch documentaries, do you do the same thing I do? If they use BC and AD, they get a thumbs up. It's like, well, good. I know they're not, overtly secular, if not anti-Christian. But if they use BCE or CE, I know I can't trust these people for anything that's going to come up in this documentary that's political. Yeah, you can talk about cosmology and light years and, minerals and whatnot, but anything that overlaps with politics, I already know you're hacks. It's like a hack flag. It's like putting pronouns in your bio. It's like, oh, be careful what comes after this. So congratulations, Texas. You got something right in this legislative session. I think I disagree with a ton of stuff, but not this one. All right, couple things before we get out of here. The next James Show listener meet and greet is happening on Tuesday. Manny G's in Keller. I'll be there from 7 to 9. So come on out, meet me, meet some of your fellow WBAP listeners, and have a good time. And also, the countdown is on. Starting yesterday, we have the big sale from Live Nation where you can get some concert tickets for this summer for $30. And it's not crummy concerts. These are big names. Dierks Bentley, Simple Minds, Slightly Stupid, Kesha. The big sale started yesterday. You can make it a summer of live music with your $30 ticket to summer. You go to livenation.com/ticket to summer for more information. And if you need any more info, you need that link, you need a link to the Rhino list, just let me know. Send me an email, james@wbap.com. All right, get out of here. Go have a good weekend. I will be here live to do a show. Actually, we have Friday. I'm already forgetting Friday. But we are doing a show on Memorial Day coming up, too, so I'll be live then. If you're still working, come join us for that. Mark Levin's next. I'm James Parker. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP.